Welcome to the Be a Brilliant Human podcast. You're in the right place if you're a growth-seeking being who acknowledges the challenges and delights of your humanity on the path to an ever more conscious life. If you want to feel inspired to love and accept yourself, to feel free to be and express you in all your brilliance, if you want to truly value yourself and others and feel energized and alive both at home and in the world, then sit back and take a breath as you explore and grow the brilliance of your beautiful human self with your host, the father of non-personal awareness and creator of the NPA process, Joel Young.
Hello, and welcome to the Be a Brilliant Human podcast with me, Joel Young. This is episode number 35. If you've just found this podcast, hello, how lovely to meet you. Thanks for being here. And if you're coming back for more, I so appreciate that you've done that. And hopefully you've subscribed already. If you haven't subscribed, newbie or regular alike, go ahead and click that button, that subscribe button, wherever you're listening to this podcast. And if you like what you hear here, go ahead and tell someone. Make that your gift to me this week, is to go and tell somebody about it and just say, oh, I listened to this good podcast. Go on your podcast platform and search for Be a Brilliant Human, or go to the website www.beabrillianthuman.com and check it out, my friend. Go tell someone. That would be fantastic. So today, you're going to hear from three real people. And myself, of course, obviously not a real person, just an avatar in the mists of sound. But three real people talking about going through and releasing emotional release for the most part here, working with the issues that have been coming up around lockdown. And it's also focused around NPA, which I'll explain in a moment. But if you haven't come across NPA or haven't yet downloaded the sheet, you can get that for free. You just need to go, again, you can get it from the Be a Brilliant Human website. If you go to the show notes for today, which will be www.beabrillianthuman.com/35, or to my main website, joelyoungmpa.com, you'll be able to get hold of the NPA process, which is if you haven't heard of NPA, it's a 6-line spoken word process that helps you stop taking things personally, let go of the yucky stuff, and let in the yummy stuff of life. So you can go ahead and download that. And also, if you feel like from listening to this that you want to get some personal one-on-one support from me, of course you can do that. If you go to joelyoungmpa.com/sessions, then you can find out all about working with me one-on-one. And again, all of the links and other sort of stuff that relates to this will be in the show notes if you go there. So let me give you a little background about this. I have a group of people that have done various trainings with me and are part of the NPA community. And twice a month we have a community call. Now, during the lockdown period, I've sort of changed how I do that because I wanted to give extra support to the community because of the stuff that's been coming up naturally around lockdown. And the way the calls work is that all the people come in, we do it on Zoom, and I give them an opportunity to share what's coming up from them, for them emotionally or in life in the different situations. Perhaps offer some feedback or perspectives or some reflection from my own perspective. And then what happens is they get paired up, which you can do with meeting rooms or side rooms in Zoom, and they work with the NPA process with each other. So one person will take the other person through an NPA process, and then they'll switch and do the reverse if there's time for that. Then we come back and we share, what you experienced, how things have changed and shifted. So from the call, which was actually last night, there were three people on that call who were willing to share. There was some really good stuff, which I thought would be so helpful to you guys. And so I asked, and three of the people on the call said they were very happy for me to use what they shared and their experiences for today's podcast. So thank you to Jane, to Irene, and to Chris, all of whom you'll get to meet in a moment. So the way that I've laid it out today is I'm going to take one person at a time. Obviously, that they'd all do their shares, they'd all go away, they'd all come back and share. But in this case, so with Jane, we'll hear what she had to say, what I had to say, and then we'll go straight into what happened after the process, so you can get a sense of coherence through that. So we're going to start off with Jane, and I love this share from Jane. it really, I think, can speak to many of us who feel a sense of vulnerability when it comes to facing emotions. Emotions can be really scary, and in Jane's share, you get to experience how she's able to meet that vulnerability and move through what has previously been, just out of the question, impossible to meet with the application of a little bit of coaching and a little bit of NPA. Then we're going to move on to Irene. And Irene is a good example in a number of ways. And she kind of teaches us about that thing that happens where we kind of tie positive experiences to a certain situation, but then ask the question, what happens when that situation goes away, which has happened for many people during lockdown. So I love Irene's share, and it might give you some insights into what's happening if you feel like you're missing something or something isn't available, so that you can get access to some positivity or that same energy in a different way. And then finally, we'll move on to Chris. And Chris's example is it's kind of a bit of bonus NPA process teaching. Because it's one of those situations where, there's stuff that comes up and it's sort of free floating, but the mind searches for a reason, especially when it comes to emotions. And that can kind of put a barrier to just letting it go. So this is a really good example from Chris of how NPA can just absolutely cut out the middleman, and you'll hear at the end how it just kind of slipped away. It was kind of annoying for him. All right, so let's kick off. Let's start with Jane.
Yeah, I feel like I've been stuck for quite a while. I was doing yoga and a while ago, and I really loved it, and my body just didn't want to move, and I've not done it for about 6 months, and I'd got into a real stuckness, and I feel that's unsticking now. I did some qigong, is it, or qigong? I don't know how to say it.
Qigong.
And that is it. That I found that really, it was a gentle, I don't know, it's just helping me get back into my body. But what I'm finding with that is my defences are coming down, and there's a bit of a fight. So the vulnerability is coming through, and I think I need to be with that, because that's what I've been running from for a long time. I think that feeling of not in control, and it's happening. And then I went back to my yoga last night, and I did my first session, and even just doing a downward dog, I wanted to cry, and I felt frightened to death of putting all my weight on my hands and my feet. It was quieter, and I really want to honour that and be with it, because I feel like I need to go through it this time, and I think I run away from it every time before. And so yeah, and just today, just doing that qigong and the yoga, yes, it was only a gentle class, like a yoga nidra at the end, and it's really moved the energy in me, and something is happening, and I just think, wow. So I can't believe how much it affected my body, and I think there's a real sensitivity coming through that I need not run from anyway. So I've had quite a nice gentle day today. I've been sitting out in the sun, which I don't often do, that sort of thing, and the neighbours' cats have been all around, and a friend, we did a socially distancing thing, sitting out in the sun, and it's been really nice. So there you go. I don't know what any of that means, but
beautiful. So I've got a question for you, Jane.
Oh God.
There's two people, right? And it's a sunny day, and there's a cold pool.
What, a cold pool?
A cold swimming pool.
Oh.
One of them jumps in, just gets it over with, jumps in, and the other one goes in tiptoe by tiptoe. Who is the better person?
No, it doesn't matter. You wish you were the person that jumped in, but
yeah, exactly. So when it comes to things like, you've got strong stuff coming up, you've got vulnerability. The reason I tell that story or use that little device is because you're describing how you sort of come to this before, and then you sort of had a go, and then you've backed off from it, and then you've come in and you did a little. And often the idea is that the person who jumps in, oh yeah, they've got the right way, and they go. But it doesn't really matter. The point is to honour yourself. So, those experiences of especially when you've had many years of defending these things and holding them inside, and they're scary and all that kind of thing. When it comes down to it, it's like your personal, walk through the valley with the shadow of death, or whatever that quote is. It's your valley of death, really. And so it's okay whether you decide just to go, running down, stark naked, waving banners, or whether you, go in, go out, go in, go out until you feel comfortable enough to get further down the line. So again, as ever, the encouragement's to be gentle with you, not to do any comparisons or those kind of really unhelpful things, and take it step by step. The fact is, you've got great awareness. You've got awareness that as you come more into your body, that begins to bring things up. There's an awareness of vulnerability. I'm not hearing judgment of the vulnerability, but there's fear around it. So this is all great stuff. This is a great foundation from which you can you can pace yourself and continue to move forward, which clearly you are, and just continue to be gentle with you. So
thank you.
Sounds good. And isn't it lovely to have a chance to sit in the garden and social distance and have some semblance of human communication?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. Great. Thanks, Jane. Okay, so let's find out how Jane fared after doing her NPA process.
Oh, it was really good. Yeah, I was really scared because I'm getting to an edge where it's real. Mine was a noise as well. Mine was just or something. I can't remember how I said it, but yeah. And that was the start of it, and then it wasn't quite done. And then I started to verbalise then, and just carried on talking to Chris, and came up with. I kept saying about feeling judged, which is a big thing. And then I said about terror, and I think we did terror, didn't we?
Yeah.
And then I started to feel. Yeah, I started to feel the absolute terror, just feeling the emotions right from down there that I need to feel, of terror, that I'm not allowed to feel them. So I can't. I'm feeling this terror, but I'm not allowed to express it. It was like that. And I noticed as I was, after I'm willing to experience it, I was feeling terror, but it just gave it more space, and it did come out of me. It felt like there wasn't, and I was scared because Chris was there, and it was like, oh, but I was able to say it. Oh, it's like, you're there, somebody's there, I can't feel this. But just the fact of verbalising that was, so there's been a real movement. So that was really, it was good.
So did you find, so when you're describing that was like when you said the words, or within the words of the process, you had the wrangling, it's like that sort of untangling, wrangling.
Yeah.
But ultimately it was able to resolve and then release. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, well, but after the I'm willing to experience this, it was still happening, but I could feel the terror, but it was almost that was a step further, even feeling it. I wasn't blocking myself. Do you know what I mean? I was allowing myself to feel the terror and know that it was terror. Whereas I wouldn't even get that far before. And then it was like, oh, and then these lack of noises was coming out of me. But it was like a real release because I was allowing it, even though I was terrified, feel the fear and do it anyway. It was a bit. So I think there's more, but it feels like, oh, I can do this. Oh, it was good. So thank you.
Fantastic. You're welcome. And again, I love how you describe it, because again, it goes back to that same principle of meeting yourself where you are. Trusting the progress that you make, or the shifts that happen, not putting a story on where that should be or where it shouldn't be. Just the sense of, okay, just the fact that you were even able to feel it is a massive, it's a massive thing. So it's like, it doesn't mean you have to be cured of terror. It's just like, no, I can begin to embrace and allow that energy to move through me more now, and those things.
Yeah.
So fantastic stuff. Irene, you're up next.
I'm still up and down. The lockdown has presented difficulties for me, isolation and so forth. But as well as that, I've had a difficulty each week that has felt like a problem, in terms of 2 weeks ago, no internet, another week, no printer inks, something or another every week on top of the isolation. And I could just do without all of it.
Wouldn't that be lovely?
Yes.
So would you say that the isolation affects how you deal with these other things that may or may not be there anyway?
Yes.
And how does that affect it in your experience?
Extra difficulties, usual difficulties feel harder. Maybe impact more upon me.
So if you were to know, what is it that makes them harder? To sort of to zoom in on what the link there is.
The isolation and the difficulties of lockdown are taking more energy to deal with than I would normally expend, and then all the usual stuff on top of that. It feels hard work.
Yeah. So what is it in lockdown that takes energy for you?
Not not mixing socially. I live alone, and so I do a lot of mixing, social mixing, belong to things, go to things. So that has all stopped. Yes, I do speak to people more and that sort of thing, but it's not the same.
So do you feel like normally those things recharge you? Is that how you'd say it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So what that tells me, just from that little bit of exploration, is that the issue is that you haven't yet found a way, other than your usual way, to recharge your batteries, so that you can then deal with the stuff you'd normally deal with, because you feel run down, because your usual way of getting those batteries charged is with connection with other people, which is very, very common thing. I don't know if you've yet downloaded the unconditional pivot exercise, which I did on my podcast on, I think it was episode 27. But that's a really good exercise for helping you find connection to the energy independent of the action. So because you've got it tied up, you've got connecting in person with people linked to recharging your batteries. And the non-personal perspective, of course, is that recharge is available outside of personalizing it to those activities. Now, that may be your most natural and preferred way to do it, and it's easy in normal circumstances, but right now it's causing you extra suffering because you haven't got a way, because it's like all focused on meeting up with people to get your batteries recharged. So that's something to consider, and you can use NPA with it. And also in today, when you pair up, you can use some NPA, because in a sense, it's one of those situations where you've personalized charging your battery, and you have to find your own cookie cutter for that, to that particular physical happening. And doing some NPA will help you to free up the possibilities of that same energy coming to you by some other form. So it's probably good to explore that, because who wants to be living life on an empty battery? And it doesn't necessarily have to be, even though I do get it, it's like a natural way for you, but it doesn't have to be just that way. There will be other ways that you can access that energy, and that may lift you and help you feel stronger in the lockdown. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Fantastic. So what happened with Irene when she did her NPA cross process? Well, in this case, it was a bit different, because she was working with someone who had a lot of stuff coming up, and she felt it was important to give time in that direction. But it's interesting to hear what she says about her experience overall. So let's hear from Irene. Irene, what was your experience?
Well, I didn't have my own NPA, but I'd said that was okay. I was okay with that. I'm all right with that. And it seemed in the moment that how Charlotte is was more important. Having said that, from what you said to me, Joel, I'm okay with that. You know, I can manage with that. That is enough.
Great. Sometimes it's just that way, isn't it? That, you know, sometimes the giving is the receiving.
I just hadn't thought.
Yeah. There we go. Beautiful. Yeah. Well, let me know, Irene, how that goes when you download the unconditional pivot. Chris, you're up next.
My body's taking a bashing. I suppose I'm just, I don't know what I am. Yesterday I just said I was angry. I'm stuck. It's not because of lockdown. I'm just angry. Is that the word? Blocked. Like my skin, I'm just itching all the time. I've cut myself a few times. I've got my camera working. I keep saying I don't know what it is. It's just like it's like I won't go out because I can't be asked to stand in a queue. And then I don't go out and I feel crap because I've been in all day. I ain't been out today. I feel caged. I don't know. I don't know. And plus I've got all this work to do, which I've finally got on top of it, almost.
So one of the great things in NPA is you don't have to necessarily know the story of the why.
Yep.
It's just about identifying the energy. And this reminds me of a time, I think one of the early times when you came to an NPA, I think it was an experiential day all the time. That was back in 2009 or something.
Yeah.
And you were with a partner and, doing process work, and she couldn't get a cookie cutter for you. And I came over, and it literally was exactly what just popped out now. Was grrr.
Yeah.
It was one of those early times that I could sort of teach people that it didn't have to be words, it just had to have animation. Yeah. So I would say when you pair up, go with grrr, because that in itself embodies and points to the energy. It doesn't matter. You can, because what we do is we get the energy, the feeling, and then we look around with our anger goggles on and go, oh, it's you.
Yeah.
Or it's that.
Yeah, I've been pointing at, saying it's that, it's this, it's that.
Yeah. And then we can't find anything to point it on. We go, well, it must be something, therefore I'm stupid, or whatever we do with all that story stuff. Whereas you just go, what's happened is this energy's come in. Yeah, there may be triggers or history or whatever. It doesn't really matter, but it's here and it wants to pass. Then NPA can help you just let it flow. So, yeah, good stuff. Grrr. Excellent. Thanks, Chris. So how did Chris get on with his grrr? So, Chris, how about you? Did you get the grrr?
I did. Well, it wasn't quite grrr, but it was close. It's really annoying because it comes up, it bounces around inside me, and then it goes. And when it goes, it's good. I mean, it's not like putting it back to sleep. It just goes. What was the problem?
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to sleep again. It's like, I'm all right. So it was, and then I did something else as well, which I forgot now.
I have as well.
But I feel better. And then when I took Jane through NPA, I felt even better. I felt even more release. I think Jane had quite a big release. And it's like all this energy just came up. Like I was trying to explain, it comes up and it just bounces around inside. It gets stuck. It just gets stuck inside. And there's no out.
Yeah. Again, that often what I say with NPA is it opens the doors, or release window.
We said that before you in that session.
Good that I'm doing my job.
You said it first.
That's exactly it. And that one of the sort of the things to take away from that, Chris, is it's there when you get this stuff come up. Just whatever sound you're making or whatever words it's got, Just do the NPA, open the windows in your psyche, and it will fly out anyway, you know.
Yeah.
And also great that you got the sense of that being enhanced by, you know, helping Jane, working with Jane. So that's, again, we see that a lot. So, very, you know, really interesting. So I hope you found some insight, something relatable in the shares today. Perhaps learn some ideas about using NPA, or perhaps feel a bit easier if you're like Jane and you're feeling vulnerable and feel some kind of pressure to sort of dive into that pool or dive into those emotions. Hopefully it's given you a sense that you can just meet yourself where you are. In fact, there's some great episodes, and I'll put them in the show notes. Thinking about that example of meeting yourself where you are, actually back in episode 2, I did a 5-point blueprint for growth. And that's a good sort of expansion on that idea. So if that resonates, go there. Of course, with Irene, I mentioned the unconditional pivot exercise, and there's a full free training at episode 27. And then I think as a general one, with what Chris shared, episode 23 was 6 mindsets to help you get over devastation. So while it was focused on devastations within that episode, there's some great general sort of tips and guidance on letting go of that strong emotional stuff. And again, I'll put all of those in the show notes so you can link through and get access to those if you like. So that's a wrap for today. Do let me know if you liked hearing from these other people on this episode. As ever, you can go to the BeABrilliantHuman.com website. You can click the button that says leave me a voice message and actually leave a message for me, which, if you're okay with it, I can bring onto the show. So if you have a question you'd like to cover, or a topic you'd like me to cover, or a question you'd like to ask me, let's get my teeth back in, then that's a great way to do it. Or of course you can, if you're already on the email list, if you signed up for the NPA process, you can get on the email list. Then you can just hit reply to any of those emails. It comes straight to me. And of course you can hit me up on social media. Generally I'm at Joel Young MPA on things like Twitter and Instagram. If you want to come and find out more about NPA, go to the NPA Rocks page on Facebook, which is facebook.com/NPA Rocks. And how else? I'm sure there's lots of ways. You'll find me. You know where to look. And again, I'd love it if you make sure you remember to hit that subscribe button. And if you like this show, share it with someone. Tell them to go look it up, find it, or even send them a link. All good. I'd love you for it. Although, let's be honest here, I love you anyway. I love that you're here. All right, that's it. I'm going to wrap up. I'm waffling on now. All that remains, as ever, is to cue the moo.